The presenting sponsor of Upmarket is Aereo, the best place to grow and manage your real estate media business online at aereo.com. That's ARYEO.com. Coming to you from the makeshift Upmarket studio in the beautiful Ojai Valley of Southern California, this is Upmarket, a podcast about the business of real estate photography and media. My name's Reed Fish. I'm the CEO and a co-founder of Upmarket Media. Oh, Mark Corcoran. Yeah, the happiness of you being here just it just comes it's just dripping off you.
Happiness for me or for you?
Well, for all of us, I think. Good. Oh yeah, when then you just heard Chelsea Froelich, producer here as well. Oh,
all the big dogs are in the room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had the B team with the last episode. Just all our staff. Woo.
They're the A team.
Oh,
they make us the A team.
That was a fun episode to listen to. I wish I was a part of it, but it was fun to listen to.
Yeah. Well, Mark was taking a podcasting break. Mark's a little podcasted out.
A little bit, yeah.
Sorry. Well, I think this is probably going to be the last episode with Mark for a while because we just fired him. For that insubordination, right?
You and Chelsea got together.
Yeah, we executive decisioned it.
Wow. I knew this was going to be a real episode. But
well, no, I think we do have some. Obviously, we've been doing the PMRA episodes, so we got those, and then we had a couple, not special episodes, but a couple different things that we're recording in the next couple of weeks. So probably this will be the last kind of core Upmarket episode for a little while. I mean, we'll still do them, of course, but so we do have a lot to talk about with what's going on in our business. And then, and really kind of, we wanted to start though by talking about an issue that I think is, if you haven't been thinking about it as a real estate media provider, you're going to have to start thinking about it. And I think it's also going to be a subject that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about on this podcast. And I know there's going to be a lot about this at PMRE as well. And I know some of the guests that we have lined up for the PMRE episodes, they haven't been announced yet, of course. This is just a subject of, and really, I think it's actually the most important subject that we can cover in this podcast moving forward. And that is the future of our industry and how technology is going to shape that future. And Mark and I just yesterday went to, it was billed as the Realtor Summit.
Yeah, Real Estate Summit 2024.
And the Ventura County. Yeah, it was so exciting. A full day. I mean, basically, kind of like a PMRE really, but for local realtors they brought in, ringer speakers from all over to come and do their talks. And one of them was on AI, and how that's going to transform the real estate industry more broadly, not specifically real estate photography. And I know Mark, I did not sit through that presentation, but Mark did, and so
I did, yeah. And it was, there was a great AI presentation at PMRE last year, and it was kind of along those same lines. So it's not like anything like earth shattering, but it was just like. And this guy, he was introduced as an AI expert, but the first thing he said, I'm not an AI expert. He's not like. Doesn't have a PhD in mathematical modeling. He doesn't know how to create this stuff, but his job is basically try to keep up with the industry and relay that information to realtors and the industry as a whole.
Right.
And kind of the big takeaway from in his kind of idea, what he was trying to put out there is like, this thing is here. It's now. It's not like 5 to 10 years, things are going to be so different. It's like, no, the future's here now. It's affecting every industry, everything you think only humans can do.
Right.
You're wrong. And it's like, what was interesting is he gave examples of how it was maybe 3 months ago and how it is right now.
Right.
And it's like the speed that it's evolving and changing and what we think, we all saw the AI headshots that came out a few months ago maybe, or last year, where you upload a selfie and it creates 20 headshots of you. And they were okay, but they're kind of goofy and the fingers were messed up. And then he's like, well, look at the new ones. And they're like, boom. It's just like, you couldn't tell the difference. So the speed that it's changing and evolving. And it's just like, he does these presentations every week and he has to change his presentation every week to keep up with like all the different things that's happening. It's just so crazy how quickly it's evolving.
Right.
So I'm curious, did they like pitch to realtors, the AI apps? Did they talk about that?
I mean,
that
he talked about
some
of the models and he's like, this is going to be amazing and it's going to be terrible and we have to figure out how to navigate it.
Okay.
But he was just kind of generally saying and showing how it's going to evolve and how it is evolving,
Right.
Yeah.
without getting nitty gritty on specific apps.
Yeah, and this guy didn't have answers to the problems. It's more,
No.
you know,
And it was pretty doom and gloom. Like
Yeah.
everyone was like, whoa, like you could see just like people kind of that hadn't been ahead of it.
and
like,
I think if you really think about if you really, and we can talk about what some of these things are, but if you think about what all the applications that can be used in our industry, I think you can get pretty doom and gloom pretty quick too.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been saying it for ever since PMRE last year. This is the editors are the Walking Dead. I mean, they are just like the editing teams overseas are going to get decimated, and it's going to happen soon. Because the AI editing on is already here to some degree. The stuff I've seen is not there yet, but come on, how much longer is it going to take?
yeah, just a few more iterations and it's just going to be like,
And I
ready
know
to go.
there's several, obviously I'm sure the big companies are working on it, and I know some smaller companies are working on it. Some of that's been teased in the Facebook groups, and it was teased at PMRE last year.
Right.
And you know, and I know there's even one there. I saw a new company that was posting some stuff, and where they have an app right now. You can just do it on your cell phone, and it's gonna and you can have hire photographers to do it, and it's just an app on the cell phone, and it'll deliver the photos instantly.
Yeah.
Finished photos. And I don't know, and I did not see the quality of those photos and anything like that. And it's probably not as good as we are, but is it 80%? Is it 90%?
Right.
And that's kind of, you can like maybe be in denial about it and be like, look at the first iteration of it and be like, no, we're good. They're never going to be as good as they can't recreate the skill that we've developed over 10 years, but it's like, it literally will in a few more months. It'll just be like, boom. And then
I just had a funny memory of when I went to PMRE and
2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago. And I forget what the ad was for, but it was some AI ad. And I think it was Dom like 2 rows behind us. And he was like, what? Read the room.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Well, of course. And that's the thing is, and there was one of that like last year too. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically, you know, something that they were at PMRE to kind of promote something that they're trying to pitch to agents
Right.
to not have us to take work away from us.
Yeah, and you're like,
that was
okay.
an
Showing
interesting
us how we're
choice.
going to be obsolete. I was like, yeah, that was really great.
Yeah. And I think there's been a joke in our industry for years and years. Oh, the new iPhone came out, time to fold up shop, you know, and that just hasn't been true. I think this is different.
Yeah. There's been disruptive things in our industry, but this is like on such a level that, it's different.
And I don't really have a doom and gloom attitude about it, but I think we all need to be prepared, and we all need to be prepared to pivot. And we all, and what we need to do is just make sure that not that we control it, because we can't control it, but that we make sure that we position ourselves where we are the ones using these tools and not agents. And that's the key, right? Because if all of a sudden you can just walk through with a cell phone and take all the photos and they're done instantly and whatever, well, we want to be the ones to do that, not have the agents do it.
We want
right?
to stay involved in that process. I guess my big concern is like the amount of skill it takes to do what we do now with our current setup is high. And so we can charge a price accordingly.
Right.
But if all we need to do is walk in with a cell phone and scan through the property and create photos, a virtual tour, videos, and it takes us 10 minutes on site, then the perceived skill value that's required to do that task is a lot lower. So how are we going to walk in and continue to charge, $1,000 for a full media package when it takes us 10 minutes on site to like scan the property and it's all created in AI?
Well, that's marketing. I think, and it's just having that value proposition and just making sure that, and hopefully those ecosystems are not so accessible to the average realtor. And I think it goes, because even now, right, a realtor, they could do drone photos and it would take them 5 minutes, and then they could send to an overseas editor. They could send just box brownie or whatever, and they're going to look great. Well, the thing is, that's still 15 minutes that they could have been doing something else. And they have to have the workflows for that. I mean, it's just, it would have to me, it would, for like looking at our high volume clients and seeing how they operate their businesses, it would have to be so easy for them to ditch us. You know what I mean? It would have to be, and I guess I can't see our high volume clients doing it themselves. I mean, I guess I could see if I'm really gaming it out, that they have their assistant do it.
Right. That's how I see it. Maybe at the brokerage level, it's become something that they use.
Right.
And they just hire a college kid with an iPhone
Right.
And he's just like the marketing person. And he
Right.
just runs through all their listings and creates all that stuff for them, kind of thing.
But there's also that level of trust that we've built with our clients. And so they trust us to deliver that quality of content to them. So
sure. And I think we have a couple more years of that, but if like what happens when the quality is indistinguishable, I mean, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Because then it is finding that your unique value proposition or whatever.
Right. And I don't just mean the editing or anything. I just mean in terms of taking the photo with a certain eye or looking for certain things.
Well, but that's what I mean is
not
like, you're not going to
having
have that eye.
Right.
Is that you're just going to walk through and I mean, that's still what is keeping us even in these iterations. It's like, you still, even if you have AI process the photo or whatever, you still have to know where to stand. Right. And it's the whole thing of like, yeah, it doesn't, you can hire anyone to go and snap a photo, but you have to have that knowledge of where to actually stand and where to place the camera. And that's really the biggest thing that we do is like know where to place the camera.
Yeah.
But when all of a sudden you can just go through and do like you would do for say a floor plan right now where you scan and, second floor cubic casa or whatever, and you do that kind of thing, but yet it's going to be able to output all the photos, a video, everything else. I mean, probably a little ways away from that, but I don't think it's that far off.
It's not far away. Yeah.
It's
kind of like Matterport. Like you can go do a Matterport tour and pull still photos from that. Right. But if we kind of look at them, they're like, they're not really there. They're not really, but it's not going to be long before there's like indistinguishable differences.
Right. Well, and there was one technology already that we saw the tail end of someone else speaking there yesterday. You saw it, Mark. I didn't actually see it. Can you explain what it was?
So it's something, he called it MIPNERF, and I kind of looked it up, and it's something that Google is creating. And it's basically, so there's a lot of money behind it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the MIP part, the NERF is like neural radiance fields. And there's all these like crazy acronyms, and it's like a whole language, but it essentially, just from a couple of photos, still images of like, say you take a shot into a kitchen, there's an island, you can't see what's behind the island or whatever. It can create basically from that one photo. Not only can it recreate what's behind the island, but it can create a moving visual. So you just go through, snap a couple photos of a house, and what it can't see, it can figure out what's there, and it can just basically create everything. It's like a Matterport tour. When you're filling in the black spaces, this just fills in all the black spaces automatically.
And then you can move through the model. It makes like a 3D model. He was saying it's like a whole matter. It's like he equated it to Matterport.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's basically like, he was saying, homeowners are going to be doing this. They're not going to need you. Like he was talking to the agents.
To the agents. And
didn't
then
even
we're
mention
standing in the back.
Our industry at all. Like we weren't even part of the conversation. It was just like, if your clients can do this, why do they need to hire you as an agent? Yeah.
Well, and that's for the agents to figure out their unique value proposition. And at the same time, I mean, why would, if a homeowner can do it all, they're not going to need an agent. They're not going to use us if they have those kind of apps because they're incentivized, right? Like if a homeowner can produce all the marketing materials, well, then they're like, well, I don't have to hire a realtor then. And, then that's the danger, right? Because I think I'm not too worried about our agents using that technology to say to the homeowner, just walk through, take these 4 photos and we're going to produce all the marketing materials. Cause that's not real white glove service. I mean, I think the realtors, and especially now with the settlement and everything, I think there's going to be a push for them to be even more, kind of a luxury and white glove for their clients to prove 100%. Their worth. Mm-hmm. So part of that is having professionals come in and do it. So I don't think I'm not that worried about that aspect of it, but maybe there is a boom in for sale by owner. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. We can stay a part of that conversation and keep that relationship with the agents. But if that whole thing goes away, then it's a different conversation. So
yeah. So what's the, and I think I'm not even up on what all the technology already is on all this stuff, but the stuff I've seen is, it's getting there. But I think the larger question is, how do we pivot? How do we defend ourselves?
Right. What do we pivot into if we're media and,
we can start taking homeowners on as clients. Kidding.
Well, that's how it's done in Australia, right?
Yeah. The homeowner decides if they want media or not. And then the agent says, this is my media guy and my media people. And they send them in.
Yeah. But really, so I think there's one answer to it. And it's not a pivot. It's just like, it's the thing that will keep us in the mix is our relationships.
Yeah.
Right. So it as with almost everything else, right? It's a relationship business, and we hold the key because we have the relationship with the agents. And so they can go to these conferences and they can have these, speakers, chirping in their ears about this, that, and the other thing. But it is their relationship with their trusted media professionals that are going to shape how they feel about this stuff much more than, going to some convention.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the at the end of it, when everyone was like, whoa, you could see everyone kind of chattering. The one kind of maybe glimmer that I saw was like, most of our clients are in the older kind of demographic.
Right.
And I saw conversations in between a few people in front. Oh, have you looked at that chat PTG thing? And they're just like, they're still at like phase one and the industry's already moved way ahead. And they're like trying to take photos of the presentation and they're taking selfies instead. And they're just like, I'm like, if these are the people that are going to be using the tools, then maybe we're still part of the conversation for now. But it's like, it's the new, younger generation of agents that are going to be like coming at this full force.
And they're replacing the older ones every single day. Mm-hmm. So, but we need to forge relationships with those people too, with the kids. And then we need to make sure that we are up to date on what all the technology is. We need to know what the options are. We need to know how we can leverage them for ourselves. And also, what, and I think yesterday going to that, it was a snooze fest going to that, Realtor Summit, but we got a lot of good intel. Yeah. And that's 100%. The thing for us to know what realtors are being told is pretty valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah. To stay in front of those conversations and to be a part of them, and rather than like, being left out of them is huge.
Right. And because then we can advocate for ourselves with our clients if we know what we're up against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like I said, the guy presenting doesn't claim to be a AI expert. We can't claim to be AI experts, but we need to be up enough on the industry and keeping up with it to at least have like intelligent conversations with our clients. Because a few people came up to me, oh, what do you think, Mark? What do you think about this whole AI thing? What are you going to be doing in a year? And I'm just like, kind of like, hopefully I'll still be here. Like, you need to have an answer for that. You need to be able to have a reasonable conversation about it.
Right. Well, and so it goes back to the relationships, but it also goes back to service, right? Because the apps just are not going to be able to give the service that we give.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we are able to, and I think we can use, like, say, for instance, if we started doing AI editing and it's done and we can deliver within an hour, well, then we start offering to deliver within an hour for $100 upcharge or whatever. And then once it becomes, it was almost like with floor plans, right? It was like, hey, we have technology to do floor plans now. Great. It's $100 add-on. Mm-hmm. And now we give it away free. So, but it's a value add, and we've raised our prices to kind of accommodate to cover our costs of doing the floor plans. But I do think we've gotten a lot of clients who are like, whoa, you get a free floor plan? Great. Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. They're loving it.
So if we are, delivering the service, delivering that kind of high level of service to our agents, it's just going to keep them in the fold. I think for at least for a while. Some of this may be just buying time.
Yeah,
but
it feels like that. So it's just like, and that was kind of his takeaway. It was like someone yelled out during his presentation, well, what are the solutions? You've given all this like doom and gloom. And he's like, I don't have any solutions. Nobody does. It was like his big takeaway was be a better human.
It's funny. That was actually,
go ahead.
Leading into what I was just going to say, right? When you said human, I think along with this boom in technology, there's going to be a boom in the desire for human connection. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are going to feel lost with all this technology because I think it's going to get crazy in the next few years. This is just the start of it all. And I think as a collective, people are going to want that communication, that connection, that human connection. And that's going to be our saving grace there.
Hopefully, yeah. And
that was people kind of are hungry for that.
The takeaway from the PMRE presentation to us was like, if everything becomes artificial and indistinguishable and has no feeling and is all the same, then it's like the real stuff, the human stuff becomes even more important.
Yeah. I've been hearing more and more people talk about they're just like sick of all the social media and, they're just they really want that connection. Totally. They feel lost without it.
Yeah. So. Well, I think that's very, very true. And I also think there is a, devil's advocate case to be made here for it. AI not truly revolutionizing every industry like it's purported to do. I mean, I think you see it in creative fields. Oh, they're going to make AI movies. They're going to make AI, but we don't want to watch AI movies because they're not human at this point. Hey, whatever. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here, so
Right.
I'm not quite sure how where I think it's going to go. I mean, and I don't know.
The same as music, right? Like he gave an example too. He was like folding laundry one night, this guy, and he was like folding his wife's t-shirt, and some like line from a poem or a song kind of popped in his head. So he just kind of plugged that one line into an AI thing, and it created this amazing song that he played for his wife, and she was crying, and it does evoke emotion, and it is real and indistinguishable, and it's kind of terrifying.
But it's its own genre, right? Like that's
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, you've seen people are like get blown away by some movie trailer that was done in just AI, and it's all noir, and it's this and that and the other thing, and it's just like a pastiche of like all these styles. There's no soul to it, right?
Yeah. And so, you kind of instantly look at it and you're like, it's fake.
Yeah.
It
Right.
just shuts it down right
Maybe
away.
right now.
Yeah.
Because you knew it was
of,
going in. If you didn't know, or maybe in a year.
Well, and who gives a shit about the soul of real estate photos, right? So I mean, that's for us the kind of more pertinent question, right? It's not about is an AI movie going to win an Oscar?
Right.
It's more of like, hey, how just literally, can we still charge money to do this?
Right. And can we charge enough to stay in business? And
yeah. And I think these are questions we're asking right now, and I don't feel faced with it right now. But again, this is more about, projecting through the next 5 years and how things are going to profoundly change. So I had two solutions to it, right? It's relationships, and my other solution is diversify. And I know that's what we're trying to do in terms of adding branding, adding more social media content, production. I mean, and those I think are threatened industries too. I mean, because I think that you can make AI videos for social media pretty damn easily, right? So, but again, you want that human touch behind it. You want the soul even in those, because that's content that agents are going to want to use to show who they are. Not that they can use AI, right? And obviously we're podcasting right now. We have our other local podcast, and it's like, no, AI can't regenerate your voice and your thoughts. So I feel like a podcast, and you're can regenerate our voices. I don't know if it can.
Yeah, it can't.
This brain, no, can't.
With that face and that voice,
can't replicate that.
That's at least 10 years away.
Yeah.
But I feel like the podcast is kind of a not untouchable.
Yeah,
but it's like,
no, it's harder because it's more human.
It's that human connection again.
Yeah. So, okay. So sponsors, it's now $10,000 an episode to sponsor Upmarket Podcast. And so that way we can make enough money to survive. And so I think that's really what we all have to think about is how do we make ourselves more indispensable to our clients? And if we can do branding, if we can do something else that we haven't even thought of, I think that would be a smart thing to look at for people.
Yeah. So all of these years and years of developing all these skills and doing things that we thought only we could do. It's like, those days are going to be gone soon.
Potentially. God, Mark, you were
very
grim.
grim.
I am grim about it. Jeez.
I mean, that was just kind
the
of
sunny Kiwi over here is just like, man, bringing me down.
It's hard not to get doom and gloom about it. It's just like, that's what he said. Everything you think is untouchable is going to be affected.
On that note.
Yeah, with that.
That was uplifting, right?
Yeah, with that, let's take a little break. I got to digest this. I don't know. Let's give Mark a lollipop or something.
Right.
Yeah, we need to pump this guy up.
I need a CBD gummy or something.
Whoa, you are an Ojai. We can get them.
What do we got, Chelsea?
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back. We have maybe they're AI related action items. We'll have action items at the end. We're going to talk. We have a lot more talk. Hopefully it's not as depressing. Well, hopefully this wasn't depressing, but hopefully it's as thought provoking as the first half of the show has been. Yes. And then we're going to talk a little bit of social media, see how that's been going with Chelsea kind of taking over a little bit. All right. We'll be back in just a sec. Did you guys know presenting sponsors area?
I did.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you did. Well, and you know what? I think all our listeners know that as well, but let's go ahead and talk about Aereo regardless, because it's still out there. It's kind of the unsung hero, chugging along, making our lives easier every single day. Chelsea, right?
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what have we been doing? So how's scheduling going in Aereo?
I love it.
Oh,
I love it. Yeah.
Wow.
And I've been trying to, integrate that into our team and just everything we can utilize on the app, on the Aereo Go app. I've been trying to push with everyone, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see you've been tweaking the scheduling and the notes and multiple appointments. I'm like, oh, this is in a good flow.
Yeah, and
Looks
I
good.
actually caught on to that really quick. I thought it was going to be really confusing, but like the multiple appointments and everything, I actually like it a lot more.
Yeah.
It's easier.
So what is multiple appointments? Really briefly, what does that mean?
So when there's one order and say we're doing like a photo and Twilight package, I can set up 2 separate appointment times with 2 different team members on the same order.
Right. And it's not as confusing for the realtor, because I know when we would have to do that before,
Yeah,
you
they'd
get multiple Google invites and
all these duplicate orders and whatever.
Yeah.
So
So it divides it all in the emails for them.
Oh, beautiful.
And it has our cancellation policy. Everything's in the email. They get reminded. It's
wow. We should have
can
done that. We should have
postpone.
done that a long time
I
ago.
know.
Yeah.
Well, that's just one of the things that Aereo does that makes it an amazing platform that you can use to help grow your business online. Check it out, Aereo.com. You look, and you can use the discount code Upmarket, and you're going to get 15 free bonus listings, 15 free appointments that you can do multiple appointments on. I mean, this is really amazing. So check it out, Aereo.com. What kind of frame would you use if you were going to frame a floor plan? Like, I would think like gold leaf.
Yeah.
gold leaf.
Well, yeah.
Fancy.
Well,
They're fancy.
floor plans. I mean,
Maybe
look, is
diamond
there
encrusted? I mean, come on.
Wow.
is there a more premium product than a floor plan? I mean, this is something that you can put on every shoot that you do, and your agents love it. It makes you a premium service. And look, if you're talking premium floor plan service, you got to talk Second Floor app. Second Floor app is the one that you can go and in minutes create a floor plan that you can deliver to your client immediately. So I know there's been some hiccups in other ones delivery systems, and it's in the speed of delivery. So Second Floor app, you're going to not have those problems. You're going to be able to deliver whenever you want, right on site, or you can do it the next morning, whatever suits your fancy. You can upsell to have the instant delivery. I mean, it's just a way to make more money. So check it out. Second Floor app, super simple, super accurate, GLA, everything. It's got, come on, you guys know, we've been doing a lot of these ads. Second Floor is awesome. So check it out, secondfloorapp.com, all spelled out, /Upmarket, and then you're going to get a free month of service. Woo, baby. This is amazing. Come on, rate, subscribe to this podcast. Come on, throw your friends some love. Give us a 5-star rating. Definitely hit the subscribe button. Hey, you can subscribe not only on your podcast app of choice, but also on YouTube. Go to Upmarket Pod on YouTube, and you can get on our feed there. I mean, come on, you can look at us right here. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm looking at the camera. Come on, man, you want to see these sweet faces every week. And we're also Upmarket Pod across all social media. Right. And upmarket.media if you want to check out what we're doing there. And then
I've been listening actually to the pod. I mean, on YouTube Music, because Google Podcasts went away.
Oh.
And YouTube Music's kind of cool. You get the audio, you get the script, you get the video, you get all. It's kind of a
script.
Well, it's a translated.
It's transcribed?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Pretty legit.
You turn that off.
You get a script?
Well, I'm not getting paid for my words being put out there like that.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's cool. Okay. Check it out on Google.
YouTube Music.
YouTube Music. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's owned by Google. Same thing. Yeah. Alphabet.
It's in the family.
And then Chelsea, of course, Feeding Beautiful on Instagram. Okay, so Chelsea, you're our creative director for social media, as we learned in a previous episode. So how's that been going? How's our social media been?
It's been good. Just trying to engage like we talked about last time. I go on there every day after lunch and I like stories, I comment, and I see that realtors responding back, even if it's just like a little heart or a like.
Right.
You know, I think they appreciate us noticing them more. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I see that too. I'm like, wait, who liked the mess? I never sent that message.
You're like,
I'm like,
wait a
I'm like,
minute.
it's kind of nice for me to kind of take a few steps back from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good.
Right. And you haven't been doing our beloved House of the Week post.
No, haven't been doing those for a few weeks.
Wow.
So Chelsea's been on board with that, and we sometimes figure out which house, or she just knows what to do.
Yeah, and
It's
we're
all
recording
good.
this on Friday, which is typically when the House of the Week comes out.
Yeah.
So come on,
Later,
check it out,
this
people.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Boom.
Man. And you want to follow Upmarket.media so you can see the House of the Week. I mean, you usually get some Twilight.
It's gonna be a doozy this week.
A lot of times is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know which one it is.
I don't either. Mike and I are going to discuss. No, I'm just
It's the
kidding.
most expensive waterfront home in Ventura of all time.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, whatever. All right. Well, so you've been feeling. Has it felt like you've it's been taking away from admin stuff?
No, because I've been blocking out the time for it.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
So if the phone rings, it just rings. And we'll figure it out later.
Great.
Well, no, it's only like 30 minutes
Kidding.
after lunch. So
Yeah.
typically it's okay.
Right.
It's not like
no, and it's
insane.
funny. The
But
afternoons
last
have
week
not
was
been
great.
the afternoons have not been like going crazy on the phones. It's just been usually in the mornings. I feel like with occasional afternoon bursts, but. All right. Well, that was really exciting. Thanks everyone for another amazing social media sidebar. Thank you, listeners, for listening. Okay, we're gonna come back. We got a lot more to talk about, and we got action items. AI is coming and it's going to destroy us. In the meantime,
AI is here. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm glad we started back with it. Not so grim.
And here's the thing: we already are taking a step in the direction, and it's not AI, but we did make a big change, and it hasn't quite been put into place. But look, we bought 4 new iPhones. iPhone 15 Pro Maxes. We pulled the trigger, and I set them up because I know Apple a bit.
Yeah,
and,
you're our IT guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's going to work out well for us. And handed it off to Mark and the team yesterday. So that's the thing. So we're going to be shooting all our video on iPhones and drones. But that's it. So already now we are going to take that step of walking through the house with a phone and trying to be a professional.
Yeah.
And having to sell that to the realtors.
Mm-hmm. That's scary. That's scarier than not using Flash and not using whatever and like other things that we've done before where it's like, we're using something that they have in their back pocket, basically.
Yeah. And, it's not the tool, Mark. It's how you use it.
Wow.
We're not talking about the front pocket, man. Oh man.
The easy answer is like, oh, well, these phones, these cameras are actually better than the ones we use, and they have and you can just say, well, the dynamic range on the iPhone, and the realtor go, oh yeah, of course.
Totally.
Yeah. Dynamic range. My
Yes.
goodness.
I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Yeah. So, that's the thing is I think we just need to use like important words when we talk, not important words, like technical words when we talk about it. Oh, you're the aspect ratio. Oh, well, then you can choose our aspect ratio so easily.
Makes our back end workflows much cleaner. And
more efficient. Yeah. Our editors love it because they're able to get those colors pop on this thing, man. Oh my God.
Yeah. It is a tool. We're still delivering a product that will maybe be a little bit higher in quality. And it's at the end of the day, it's like, they don't sit there and watch us do video necessarily. And they're not going to be like,
no, but we do need, and I think we need to make sure that Marco and Nikki also are apprised of what to say. We need to have a party line on this in case we do get any blowback.
There will be some conversations.
I don't think we're going to get blowback, but they'll be like, whoa, you're shooting video on the phone. And you just want to make sure that we always position ourselves still as professional. And so
honestly, I think maybe the easiest way to work that in there is, we market it as a social media video. So if we can have that in the line, like, it's more efficient for social media.
True, but we're also doing our more cinematic videos with it,
Right.
You know. So
But we still call it a social media video. Right?
Yeah.
It's
Do we?
still something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
it's a
on the
full-length social
website.
media. Okay, yeah, that's
So
fine.
maybe like the
Yeah.
output is appropriate for social media or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, it integrates more closely with our systems and with social media.
Yeah.
With social media
I
platforms.
like we're working this out on the air here.
And it's,
Yeah.
I've seen there's some of our clients that never do video with us that do their own stuff, and
Right.
they're walking through with gimbals and their iPhone, and they're doing their own thing, and they're kind of figuring out their own workflows. And
Yeah.
the videos never look that great because obviously there's still an editing part of it and having to know how to walk and where to move and all that
Well,
stuff.
yeah, and I think any question will be that anyone has and any trepidation when they see the output, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
just
it was
with
just like
anything
when
else.
we
Yeah.
stopped with the flash, right?
Yeah.
No one noticed.
Right. And then it didn't, and everyone's like, oh, your photos are looking amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
well, fantastic. That's
Perfect.
great.
Yeah.
Well, and so one of those iPhones also went to Chelsea. Mm-hmm. So, and
Very
she's beaming.
exciting.
She's
She
beaming
got the first
still.
one. She's like, give it to me. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been nice. I took all the apps off my personal phone, put them all on the work phone. So
Yeah.
Slack, Open Phone, Dropbox, everything. It's all on there. So on the weekends, I am completely checked out.
That's so great. I said this to
Amazing.
you in Slack. It was like, oh, Chelsea, why didn't we think of this so long ago? We should have done that so long ago.
Yeah, but I didn't think about it either. Like it hasn't bothered me, but and when you do it and you make that change, then you notice. You're like, oh, wow.
It's like, there's my work life over there,
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
You like leave it in the office on the charger.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that this weekend. It's going to be fun.
Oh, like,
Wait a sec. No. Wait, hold on. Because someone has
Someone
to.
has to have
Someone
it.
has to be doing admin on the weekend. Oh no, it's going to be me. Yeah. I think that's fantastic, and hopefully too for the staff. They're not in the same way, but even just having Slack on your phone, it's the problem is sometimes we do have to send messages on the weekend or
Right.
whatever, and if we know that people aren't checking because they just have it on their work phone and they're not touching it until Monday morning, then we're going to have to send a few texts over the weekend.
but that's fine. We're not
Yeah.
unreachable.
Yeah,
But that's
totally.
the point, right? Is
Right.
only if it's really important are we going to contact you.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah. And for us as business owners, obviously it's a big expense, but we're kind of balancing it because right now we provide basically a subsidy,
really,
right?
It's not really
To
a
our-
big expense. I mean, because so we bought 4 phones and it ended up, the Verizon was offering a deal. And so they weren't even, it was like, because they're $1,200 phones. And I think it ends up being $700 each. But of course you're just paying that over 3 years monthly. And then we are subsidizing, we pay a subsidy to everyone for their cell phone bills every month. So those are going away.
Yeah.
And so
it's
I think
like this comes down, this comes up. and
We're
it's
all
like,
in for it's literally $200 a month is what it's going to cost us for the it was like $350 to get the phones because you got to pay the tax or whatever. And then it's going to be $200 a month, which is probably, it's a little more than we were paying for the subsidies, but not that much more. And so
And it's like the benefit too of obviously the weight of the gimbal. We've talked about that, the physical
Yes.
nature of what we do.
Yeah.
And Nikki's having issues with her gimbal and all that. Like there's other benefits to it around the edges that are going to be huge.
Well, one of the tricky things though was actually, all joking aside, was setting it up because the thing is, these are work phones. They are upmarket media phones, and we didn't get them under a business account on Verizon. It was going to be just enough more expensive where I was like, we'll just keep them as a personal thing. But I don't think that whether you buy it as a business phone through Verizon and are paying a different price, it doesn't affect what the phone is and how it's set up. So with Apple, it is a little tricky. They're not really out of the box set up for our situation where it's like a team of people.
Yeah, just go team member 1, team member 2, and here's your.
And I figured it out. You can't really, I was thinking, well, we'll just have one, our Upmarket Media Apple ID, and that will be the Apple ID on each phone. Well, that doesn't really work. It's just a little too cumbersome. It just was getting confusing. So, okay, now they all need their own Apple ID. And so, okay, now you have to make 4 Apple IDs and you have to have 4 different email addresses for those Apple IDs. And then,
and it's like, we didn't want to tie it too much to a specific person. If that
Correct.
person leaves and we need to hand it off to a new person.
So
then,
we
it's
just,
like,
I just called the phones, Upmarket Media Production 1, Production 2, admin. And then, So then it's kind of agnostic who has the phone, but, and then just in terms of like, we did family sharing. So Mark is the granddad, the head of household on his phone. And,
Nice.
and then we just did family sharing. So that way we can, any apps that we buy, we can do purchase sharing. And then it does share, cause we will have to get a data plan, or not a data plan, but a storage plan.
Oh,
an iCloud storage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it comes with like 5 gigs or something, which is like 2 video shoots or 1 video shoot. So we will need to upgrade that, but then it's shared throughout all the phones.
And then, we're trying to figure out workflows for getting the video files right off the phone, or do we need to even get them off the phone? We can just put them to the cloud to our editors. So we're trying to figure that
because
out.
we were kind of thinking, what we'll do is we'll just share our iCloud with the editors, and it's gonna be great. We'll put them in folders. It just doesn't quite work like that. The workflow doesn't. You can put them in a folder, but then it doesn't reflect in the other iCloud. I mean, you could do like a shared album for each shoot, and maybe that's what we'll end up doing. But what we kind of landed on was that we would take, because part of the problem was with iCloud, you can send a link, but then the link doesn't have any information.
Right.
It's just to an iCloud album. Even if you named it 123 Main Street, it doesn't have the name of the album. And then each file is just like image 626. And so it's like there's no
know what to do.
Have no clue what property it's for, and so that just doesn't
messy.
work. Messy so quickly. But then we just figured, well, actually, we normally send our stuff to our editors via WeTransfer, so we just get the WeTransfer app and then just send it that way.
Then we can keep our organization, keep the addresses, keep it all kind of in line.
Yeah.
The only thing we'll have obviously the separate drone footage and the phone footage, so those will be probably separate uploads. But as long as we're labeling and taking care of stuff,
should be fine. Good. And then 2, we were looking for a better workflow for the social media content we're asking people to produce. And so we did make a shared folder, a shared Apple Photos folder for that. So anytime you do anything for social media, you can just pop it in the shared album, and there you go.
That's going to be nice. Yeah.
That should
pop up on Chelsea's end, and you'll have instant access to it. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So, it remains to be seen. We're figuring out the workflows, and, we'll definitely report back, maybe in a month or something, and see how it's been going.
Yeah. I mean, I've got mine. I've had mine for a day, and I'm already 5 minutes in. I was already like sick of juggling 2 phones. I'm like, how am I going to not forget to lose one somewhere? This is so for me, I may end up kind of merging. I just want to have one phone, but for our employees in the field, it's just like another tool or device or camera or whatever.
Even with you could just keep the phone in your camera bag as your video camera. You don't have to use it for the other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
but then I can just keep Slack on my personal phone, and then it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly.
See, but that's why you should put Slack on your work phone. So when you're working, you have your work phone, and then at the end of the day, you take out your personal phone.
Yeah, but we're the bosses, so we need to have Slack on our personal phones too.
Well, no, you can have it on both. That's my point. It's just an app. So
yeah. I only juggle 2 phones
you don't
and a
have
camera
to juggle.
and
that's the beauty of it.
All right. Well, that's exciting. Well, okay. So I think we ran that course on that for now. There's one other big thing that's kind of going on, and we're kind of waiting on right now.
We are
negotiating a studio space. Chelsea is like, you could, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, you could see just the excitement.
The smile.
And we've had a studio space before.
Right.
This one's a little
Chelsea
different.
wasn't quite as excited about that one as this one.
I don't think anyone was quite as excited.
This is exciting, I think.
Yeah. So basically, we feel like times are good at Upmarket Media. It's been a pretty good spring. So we feel like that we have a little bit of give that we can work with some stuff. And obviously the podcast has been going well. We've been added sponsors, and, so it's like, oh, okay, some money's coming in from it. And then we have our Real VC podcast, which I think we're going to be able to monetize pretty quickly now. We're kind of getting in a groove with that with our new co-host. So all of a sudden it feels like, well, we have the revenue to absorb the cost of having a studio space, because one of the for us, and we're always honest with all our listeners. One of the hardest things about doing this podcast has been finding a place to do it. And then even when we've had a space to do it, it's like, and if you are watching on our YouTube channel, it looks like crap. I mean, the aesthetic of the podcast has not been great. We're just setting up an iPhone wherever we are, and you can see the cables, you can see all the stuff. It's
the
not
production value has a lot to work with. Right?
Yeah. And so, and we, for a long time, weren't even really doing a video side of it, but we decided people do listen to podcasts on YouTube quite a lot, and you want that video element, but we've just never, it's just been kind of like a perfunctory, oh yeah, we just got to get the video. So, I think we need to up our game. And so I think we need a permanent space that not only is just, we're going to set up a table and have whatever. It's like, we need a studio where it actually looks good. It's well lit. It's professional. It has soundproofing, all the kind of stuff that you would expect with the level of the amazingness of the Upmarket podcast,
Yeah. And I think it's even more important for our Real VC where 100%. We're bringing in clients and we're bringing in people that we want to impress and we want a space that we're proud of. Like that's something that's really important.
Yeah, for sure. And so we really have felt the need for that. And then also we, as we're developing this branding side of the business, we also need a little bit of not need, but it would be useful to have a little bit of photography studio space and also space to create social media content. So if someone does want to come in and just record 3 talking head videos, we have a space that we can do that. So we started looking, and last time, and not to get too deep into the geography of things, we just happened to find a space up in Ojai, and that's great for Chelsea and I. But for Mark and anyone else, it's a pain. And most, and most of, it's about half hour up here, give or take.
Not right now, but
there's a little bit of construction going on, but in normal times it's half hour. And there's a mudslide on the backside, so there's only one road in and out of town now. Yeah. We thought, well, let's look in Ventura more. And that's where, when we're doing the Real VC podcast, that's much more central to where most of our clients are that we would have on the show and our co-host and everything else. And that's the majority of our business is down there. So it just makes sense. Yeah. And so we're looking around and there's just not a lot out there.
Yeah. Like Chelsea, take a look, see what's out there. She's And
it's not that there's going to be a dedicated studio space, but it would be more like an industrial space or an office space or whatever. And it was just like, God, nothing. And everything was expensive. And then Chelsea found this one that's actually more of a retail space. So
like right off of the main strip in downtown Ventura. Retail.
Right on the main strip. And Mark and I went to look at it and was like, oh yeah, this is nice. I mean, it's kind of, nice. So it is on Main Street, and right now still from COVID times, it's all blocked off and you can stroll. I think that's going to end, but, it's in this building that then has a walkway in the middle, and you kind of go back to not really a courtyard, but like kind of a wider walkway.
It's a courtyard.
It's a courtyard. Okay.
Yeah. They call it a courtyard, but it's a little garden plaza.
But it's brick and it has ivy and wrought iron fixtures, and it's just super quaint.
The coffee shop with the little umbrellas.
You're like one of Chelsea's favorite coffee shops just happens to be located directly next door.
My esthetician happens to be upstairs. It's quite nice.
And so, it's a cute space.
Yeah.
And
we were all there like separately. Reed and I went and saw it, and we're like, this place is a vibe. Yeah. This is like, this is
it's
cool.
all windows too. So it's like natural light. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. Well, and we hadn't thought of having a retail space. We don't need it. We're a business to business service. But as we expand the branding side of our business, actually there's so many more businesses that can benefit from the stuff we're potentially offering. And the rent is not so much more than the office spaces that are out there. Right. So it's like,
do we want to be in an industrial park in the back of
which is kind of cool for creative stuff. But if we are bringing clients there, it's nice to have a place downtown. Yeah. And so it ended up, I think all told, it's probably looking at, probably the cheaper options of what we could have got. It's probably another $800 or $900 a month to be in this space, maybe $1,000.
Oh, you think that much?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And we kind of, once we saw the initial price, we're like, oh, that's good. But then there's something called triple net, this and that. And then, we're like,
commercial real estate lingo. Yeah.
It's a whole thing. So it's a little bit more, obviously. Yeah. But it's.
Yeah. And so the question was, it was like, well, do we think that we can bring in $1,000 more in revenue a month from having this particular space? Or do we get $1,000 a month more worth of actual good marketing out of it? And I think the answer is pretty clearly yes. Because I don't think there's a price you can put on it when we were talking to Chelsea about it, and she just comes out and she's just like, you can just, it's emanating off of her. She's just like lighting up. Oh my God, we could do this and this and this and this.
Instantly inspired.
Sign the lease.
Yeah. Well, and so when all of a sudden and I think Mark and I felt the same way. You're like, whoa, we hadn't thought about these things, but we can host little VIP client parties. We can do,
I mean whatever, after hours, even after 5, there's like a gate that closes that courtyard. And it's like, I feel like we could use that. Like no one else is going to be back there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, and that plays into our relationships, those human connections,
absolutely.
our clients that are going to be really valuable.
And we have a space. We could do a headshot pop-up once a month.
Yeah. And it was, we're talking outside, right? And it was like, this is cool, but it's like, do we really need cool? Can we justify?
Right. And so Mark and I, right after, we're having this conversation out in front of the building, and we're out there and talking, oh, this is cool. I don't know. Do we need a retail space? And like 3 different clients walked by while we were out there for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so you're
the
like,
photo shoot you guys just did was great. And there's so-and-so. And you're just like, man, we're part of like the community down here.
Yeah. Well, and there's like 4 real estate offices within a 1 block, radius of that place. And so, there's probably, 75 of our clients have offices right down there. And, the 75 other agents that aren't our clients that have offices right down there.
And our big brokerage client is like right there. It's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, so I think we were like, it just feels expensive. It's a little more than we wanted to spend. And the terms were 3 years.
Yeah. That was scary.
So it's a 3-year lease with a 3-year option. And, so we just didn't quite know what to do. And we had our, one of our clients who does commercial is representing us in the deal, happens to work at the same, company that has the listing, but it's not his listing. So, but that's all right. But we called Jeff, old friend of the show, Jeff, our business advisor.
Yeah. When you and I are kind of like, oh, we're not sure. And then, he's a good third year. So
what he told us was, he's like, this sounds great, but how are you going to pay for it? And I was like, well, I think we're bringing in enough money from the podcast as is. And I think we're going to do, be able to get more money from the podcast and from our Real VC podcast. And that will cover the rent. He's like, okay, you should do it then. He said, if you had said, oh, we can kind of pay for it with the podcast, but we need to take, real estate media money to pay for it. He said, then you can't do that. I don't want you to do that because there's just too many unknowns and too many variables. But if we have a revenue stream already for something that we will use that space for, that is covering the cost of that space, and then everything else, if we can get any more money out of it, that's all gravy. Then he said, yeah, I give you my blessing. Not that you need it, but it's always nice to have.
And it was, we were pretty quick to talk ourselves into it, and it was hard to talk ourselves out of it. And then having that on top of it, it's like, oh, all right, let's lean into it.
And I think, but still we have to step back and say, well, okay, we are making enough from the podcast to pay for the space, but we're also now using that money that comes in from the podcast for other stuff, so still, we still have to make more money from it.
And we don't want to just have the podcast space to pay for the podcast. And then it's just kind of a wash. And then it's like, well, what's the point of it all?
Well, the point of it is like, even if it is just a wash, right? If we can just make enough money from that space to pay the rent and pay the mileage for people to go there, whatever the costs are associated with the space, it's still a benefit because it's marketing. Because the Real VC podcast is marketing. We will have signs downtown, which is marketing. And then it's also going to be able to feature in our social media, and it elevates our brand. It's like, wow, these guys are doing great. Look at this really cute space they have.
Yeah. They're part of the community. And then suddenly downtown Ventura and Visit Ventura and all these places are like supporting you.
And that's what I was going to say is like, we're building our community. I could see realtors who do work in the vicinity stopping by just to say hi. And like that, there's no price for that, that is just, we're growing our family with them. And then they're always going to think of us and come to us, and we're just going to get our stronger relationship with all of our clients, which is our goal.
So I think we, I think we can pull an extra $1,000 a month just from being there in value. I'm pretty certain of it. Talk to me in a year though.
And then, it's not a done deal. We're in the middle of negotiations. We're trying to figure out what our terms, what we're comfortable with, and we're kind of in that process right now.
Yeah. So we were trying to see if there's some, some movement, that if they can move on, how long of a lease and all that kind of stuff, because it's a gamble for us. Right. And so to be locked in for 3 years, but the thing is, on a commercial thing, you can sublet. I mean, that's part of it. And that's what our agent was like, no, you can sublet. It's just, you'd probably have to help find a person or, pay them a fee to find a new person. But, I'd rather pay $1,000 fee to find a new tenant than have to pay,
Totally. Even if we can partially sublease it, or it's like covers most of it.
Right. Well, and then all of a sudden, if we have a cool podcast studio, we can rent it out to other people who need to use a podcast studio.
Yeah.
You can do a couple $100, come in and, plug and play.
I think that's something we need to, if we can dial in a super cool looking studio that when you walk by the big arch window, you're like, oh, what's in there? And you're like, whoa, look at that. Like if we can kind of wow people walking by, and then we're at top of mind for podcast stuff, then I feel like we need to figure that out.
And photo studio too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it was, in a previous life, it was a photo studio. It has been a few different things. So there was nice natural light. It's definitely a cool, usable space.
Right. So that was a lot of talk about something that we don't even know we're getting, but
it's exciting. See,
it's on our minds for sure.
Yeah, you can hear it.
Yeah. And obviously with that, we're taking action on that too, because we knew we had a need and we're taking action to alleviate that need. And so that means it's time for our action items, which who they're sponsored by. They're sponsored by Pixel CRM, the only CRM that was made by a real estate media professional for real estate media professionals. pixelcrm.com/upmarket. And you are going to get a risk-free month of service. And that's Pixel CRM, PIXL CRM, no E there. Once again, we have, of course, been still using Pixel CRM, and it's going great. And so highly recommend you check out pixelcrm.com. So I'll have the pleasure of going first.
Hit us with the action, Reed.
Oh, God, I will action you out, man. It's a little vague, but not really. I think it goes back to what we were talking about in the first half of the show, and it is check out what is going on. And so find some of these apps, check out what they're doing, see how they're marketing, if they're marketing to realtors. Just educate yourself a little bit about what is going on in the AI space for real estate media. And we're going to talk about it a lot on this podcast, but I think you want to go and see for yourself what some of these things are already capable of doing, so you can start to think about how you're going to pivot and leverage what you have against that.
Nice. Well, that was my action item, but I'm going to piggyback on top of it.
Was it really?
And say, the reason you want to figure out what all that stuff is so you can have an intelligent conversation with your client about it. So that's kind of the goal, right? To figure out all that. So not only do you know and see where your business is going, but how are you going to communicate that to your client? So kind of figure out what an elevator pitch is when a client's going to come up to you and say, oh, what do you think about all this AI stuff? Oh, are you guys going to be out of business, or what's happening? Like, figure out what that reply is going to be and how that's going to be communicated.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're not a deer in the headlights like I was yesterday.
You have no idea what they're
Yeah. Well, man, I'm glad I went first.
Yeah.
Yeah. That worked out well for me.
That was perfect. Yeah. This is double duty action.
Chelsea.
I'm going to piggyback off that.
Oh, okay.
Not the same topic, but going back to what we talked about with the AI and human connection, just maybe write down at least 1, 2, 3 things that tie in that human connection to your clients, and try and think of a way that you can elaborate on that. Just see what you could do in the next year or few years to grow a connection and kind of become more of a family with your clients, so that that bond and that trust is strong. So just try and be creative, and outside of the media world, what can you do for your business?
Right.
Yeah. And I think that was even us yesterday at this real estate summit. It was like, we were there, we're part of the conversation with them. We're figuring it out together with them. We had so many, conversations, and that's like how you got to stay in front of your clients.
Yeah.
You got to go to the events. You got to be where they are.
Yeah. So I guess my action, because I know that was a little vague,
it's all right.
Just start thinking about it, because it has to be top of mind.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think about it, and I think about, our connection, and what I love is our connection with our listeners. Of course. Thank you so much to all our listeners. We really appreciate you. And it does, and I think that's kind of a joke, but it's also not a joke. It is the connections that we can have with this podcast, talking and getting feedback from everyone, and just knowing that the conversations we're having hopefully are helpful for people to think about how they are doing their business. And hopefully, doing this makes us feel less alone in this. And I think hopefully our listeners can feel the same way when they're listening to it.
And we're still getting DMs on Instagram. Oh, I'm binging the pod. Just found you guys. This is awesome. And keep doing what you're doing.
All right.
That's like super fun to hear. So
we will. We'll keep doing it. And it's because of our listeners. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
we
guys.
will be back. And so next Tuesday, we're going to have our episode with Brandon Cooper. We're going to run down the PMRE slate. Early birds go on sale after that. And make sure, I know this isn't a PMRE episode, but that early bird drawing for iGuide. So go to goiguide.com/PMRE and get entered into the sweepstakes to win their Planix Pro system and get into the sweepstakes for free trips to PMRE. Go check it out. Thank you, everyone.
thanks, everyone.
Upmarket is a production of Upmarket Studios. This episode was produced by Chelsea Froelich and edited by Bethany Diedrich. Thank you so much for listening, and we really hope you listen to the next one too. In the meantime, our wish for you is to not have to shoot any Friday night Twilight shoots. Thank you for everything.